Like, that shit is cinema. Yeah. Yeah, this like hyperpop lead. This is the patch. Rip it, steal it, screenshot it. I guess I could show you that up. So we start with the drums. I have kind of a kick going in, a virtual riot kick, and then a snare that comes off of that right here. Pixel Terror snare layered with another snare and a snap. So kind of sounds like this. Basic rhythm, right? From there, I add some distortion, gluing effects. So I have Ozone Dynamics, and I have Bus Exciter from Arturia, as well as just G-Clip for some clipping distortion. And it glues the drums together with collective saturation. So that's what I have for my intro drums. Cut over towards drop. You'll see some drums that are more like this. I do have my hi-hats and stuff separated out to here. Cymbals and perks separated out to here. But you can hear there's still 1 or 2 hi-hats that I left inside of this drums group. Those hi-hats, I liked running them through, for example, the Bus Exciter and through Ozone Dynamic EQ. So running it through those same effects gave it a really good glue with the drop drums, so they all pack a wallop like together. So that's the drop drums. If I take it with no hi-hats, it flows. It's just emptier, and then with them back in. And I can promise you, these two sound better inside of these glue effects than if I were to put them inside of the perks group. So that's kind of how I laid out the drums. You can always do different things inside your songs, set up your grouping and your racks however you see fit, you know? Put some percussions inside the drums. Fuck it, who gonna stop you type shit. Next up, we gotta talk about the bass, guys. So I have my sub, it's inside of this group. This is my drop, and then inside here is saturation group. So only thing on here is a little M saturator from Melda. Basically, I distort my non-sub sounds with my sub sound. So I'll focus on the sub, just letting you guys know that it's being ran through a little distortion after the fact. So here's the sub, and here's the chain. We're gonna start all the way at the left. So you'll hear that rich, crunchy, like high-end sizzle. But that first, before I even add in that high-end sizzle, I'm cutting out everything above like 100. So then I could add OTT, trash, overdrive, more OTT. Basically all that distortion, I want a really clean input to it. So if you like putting distortion and stuff on your sub bass, I would recommend throwing an EQ just like this one and like cut out basically everything except for these lows and cut out some of this extra signal, because you're going to add OTT, saturation, and other things that will make it louder and distort those extra frequencies. You want to focus on harmonic number 1, which is right here. It's the biggest peak on this EQ. Anything above that first peak really is kind of extra. So for me, I could cut this all the way down to here and it still sound good. I can't pass it. You start losing the signal. But I say that to say you guys should consider, if you like adding sub distortion and things like that, keep them. Do those distortions. They sound sick. Just consider like cutting, scooping out everything above 100 or even lower, and then you add your distortion so it's a clean signal. And I go with the erosion just to add a little white noise texture. I let my bass move around a little bit. It goes up. And that's the main part right there. That's kind of it. For the melodies, I was kind of in a future bass sort of bag. Just really wanted to go for like light and harmonic sort of stuff. Easy listening, I guess. And so you'll find really more light, fluttery sounds, not too many heavy, aggressive sounds. I saved those for later. So in the intro, there's sounds like this. Like an old-timey piano synth sort of sound. And then when the rest of the intro comes in, you get stuff like this. So there's a bunch of rich pads inside this 77 group. There's this one. Like, these are spacey, atmospheric ass pads. This is an Omnisphere piano, but it's reverbed out to give you a little bit of wash. This is another piano. I'm just kind of accentuating that first chord, and then it comes back to accentuate again. But it's also reverbed out like a pad. And then we have this Xenology patch, which is more like a proper pad. And then one more pad. And then I spread them out in stereo as well, just to really build a unique space. Later on in that intro and build-up, you start getting some more melodies. So I think those come in inside my 56 group. So this melody is very fluttery. You have one operator layer, which is kind of on the quieter side. Something of a reverbed pluck. I call it a reverbed pluck. And then this thing, which I called lead in a box, just a serum patch. OG serum, not even serum 2. This is the patch. Rip it, steal it, screenshot it. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, yep. But basically, that's the patch. It sounds far away, even though it has a fast attack. Some of the things I put on there include like flangers, pitch shifters, delay. So it feels far away with things like flanger giving you stereo, delay making it sound far away, utility just turning it down. And I bet you we're cutting out some frequencies in the mids. These types of scoops, cutting out the body of the sound, the middle of the EQ, is gonna make it sound less full, more sort of thin. But that's kind of what I was going for. I didn't want it to be a super full sound, but more of a wispy, yeah. In the background, you can hear a little bit of the drop, just kind of resampled for your listening pleasure. That is a direct like snap from the drop, just kind of copied and pasted some stuff, filtered it a little bit more. But it's something the audience will hear, but not really like keenly notice per se, if I put it back in context. It's like tucked in just behind the melody that I was just showing you guys. So try and use some subtle sounds. We can resample things from the drop. It actually helps to make it more consistent as well, because the same sorts of sonic sounds come back later. We got some other stuff, like some respaces that come in. I know y'all can see the 1, 2, 3 OTTs? Nah, just two. Only 2, I ain't crazy. But I'm looking for, yeah, here's the patch. Again, another serum. You guys can take a look, screenshot, you got it, rewind it if you need. But that's the patch, kind of like a Saw Juno type deal with multi-voices on both. So 3 and 7 multi-voices, spread them, and then run your post-processing as you see fit. I just went for a lot of distortion. So overdrive, OTT to keep all the frequencies up. EQ, just cutting out one spot to scoop. I boosted a lot of the body on this respace. And I added some distortion, and then a side chain that's side chaining off my kick, so I can hear the kick a little stronger. And this is what that sounds like in context. Like that's that low. But I didn't make it front and center in the mix down. I just kind of have it there for, again, like for your listening pleasure, just to kind of have something to vibe to while the energy starts to build. Any other cool sounds I gotta shout out? Actually, yeah, how about the rest of that shit that comes up right around that section? Yeah, this like hyperpop lead, this hyperpop lead is kind of nuts. So I do a bit of a sustain, sounds like an alarm, and then I do a little slide portamento up to the E4, and when it goes up to E4, I let the reverb ring off. And then I come in with a little glass shatter as well. Fun effects like that just kind of keep people engaged, and it makes the song less, you know, samey. You just kind of change things up with cool effects and stuff. And then this leads us to our build-up, guys. So the drums that we heard earlier kind of get swapped out a little bit. The pace just picks up. So I'll show you that snare real quick. I'm trying to remember if I drew that in myself. I think I did. I did, yeah. So this snare, Paul Maybury snare, I just kind of ran that with a bit of a trap pattern. Yeah, just kind of a trap pattern that slowly pitches up with this shifter. So we have that drum along with the kicks and snares, mixed with some kicks and claps. The claps come in right here. There's a lot of different ways to make your build-ups, guys. You can do it in MIDI, like this. You can do it with audio, like this. Or you can do both. There's no rules. Obviously, I kind of set the vibe off with this. And that one's in MIDI. But then the drums, like the kick and the clap, are in audio. So it really doesn't matter. As long as the tension keeps going up, then it's good. Yep, and then I have basically a big Prides type snare. It's a big one that I added reverb to. So reminiscent of that 2012 like Pride snare. And now we're gonna dissect some of the drops. So if you haven't heard it yet, this is what it kind of goes like at first. Comes back to that melody from the motif. A little bit of color bass, sustains, melodic. So, let's get into it, shall we? Where's a good place to start? I showed you guys the sub. We can go into some of the not sub. So that's my downbeat. Sound design by me. This is kind of a random sound, but it's very heavy. So we got that, ran through Overdrive, Serum. What the fuck am I talking about? Hang on. Yeah, basically this is Chonk Ion. It sounds like this. It uses a lot of saturation, distortion, OTT, distortion, saturation, and that's how you get that very, very blown out, overblown sound. But it's kind of savage when you combine that with the sub. I got some other stuff for the downbeat as well. So OG73 sounds like this. Very rock sounding thing. It sounds almost like an electric guitar. But yeah, with the chorus, it makes it a little bit more stereo. I made sure to have a mono signal that goes right down the middle, and then just some stereo around it for fun. However you want to do it, just make sure that some of your heavier sounds have some mono capability. This is a decent way to do it. Just have an extra chain that plays in mono, and then you'll be good. It'll always translate. And this is one more screaming bass. So it's kind of like it sounds like a scream. Main wavetables here, basic shapes with a remap, and this bent wavetable. Anyways, this is the patch. Black Octopus Sound made this. So this is a preset, as per usual. Show you a little bit of everything. No gatekeeping out here. You can see what you need to see here and here and here. Feel free to pause the video. You know how that goes, okay? With some chorus, gives it stereo width. I use my same chain again to get you some mono and stereo. And then I have a fat rack at the end. And Glunko is sort of like my fat rack for phaser, shifter, flangers, delays, making things a little bit more warbly. I use my Glunko rack, which is something like a fat rack. So that gives us this downbeat of... I EQ out all of the lows so that I can leave room for the sub. It pounds together, and then Chonk Ion is not a part of that group. It has its own space to exist outside of it. So you'll hear all of my sustains are kind of living in this one group together. It's the same OG73, the Serum, and this overdrive audio sample. So originally it was a Hoover, but I glitched it out with a shifter and some redux, so it kind of became like a weird lead. And I pair that up with the same sort of progression on 3 sustains. And so you get this really rich, like, double, triple sustain. They're all kind of stereo, pretty mono as well, and doing different things sonically. So you get like a really nice like blend of different sounds. And then the sub underneath it, that kind of pumps it all together. And then the drums, sidechain and all, actually helps bring it together as well. So my structure to this song is something of a call and response. I'd say the call is this A section. This is all the call. And my response is the B section. It's like 2 bars A, 2 bars B. So that was the call, and then my response goes, fuck me, I didn't even turn this shit on. All right, I'm a bad producer, hang on. My call is like this. And then my response is, so it's that kind of color-based sound. And that's a different group of sounds from the sustains. These sounds are up here. I do use some dispersers. I have a rack right here that has not 1, not 2, but 3 dispersers. Just have some controls for them right there. Without the dispersers. So these are stabs originally, but you get a more wompy sound with the disperser. Like without it, it is originally a stab. And I'll be honest, we're just using resonator for the chords and the color of it. If we take off the resonator, you're gonna hear stabs. Like those kinds of stabs, if you listen to my song Sweet and Sour, or Algorithm, you'll hear these kinds of stabs. But I didn't really want to do like straight heavy stabs for this. Kind of was going for more like flair. So with the dispersers and the resonator, you get a color sound instead. It's a little bit more like a video game. At least in my opinion, it feels like a video game. And that was the sonic that I was really feeling. What is this sound up here? Yeah, it's just some weird pad that I found and stretched out. It's definitely stretched out like that, basically. It was probably only, you know, half the length, but I stretched it out. You get this weird texture that blended together sounds like... It's actually kind of a really good phrase to back up the main melodic phrase. And then other than that, I do have some support basses. They're just kind of in the background. This was some sample. I just kind of chopped it up to my liking. OTT dispersered it. OTT'd it again. EQ'd it a few times. You feel me? In any like dubstep song, I think it's important to have these like throws and support basses. That's what's actually gonna kind of hold up the structure of your song, even if it's turned down. I could probably have turned this down like to -10 or something, and it would still sound good. I have this vital bass, which I think is another sustain for real. Yeah. That section is all sustains, and it's meant to be very like, when you hear it live, it's like a head rush. The sub is just like blasting in your face. So you get a lot of sustains. I think I went through almost all of them now that I've covered the vital one as well. Down here is a resample of that little color bass section. I just kind of bounced it out. Put some weird effects on there inside of Shaper Box, and then that gave it a weird texture that works in the background. It's like almost, you can't really hear it, but when it's ISO'd like that, like I just did, you can tell. But in a full production, no one's noticing that, ooh, tiny layer. It's just something you kind of feel more than maybe you hear. But the arrangement continues, so you get sustains, melodic, back to sustains. I guess I could show you that up. Was that Chunk Ion? Nah, was it a sample? Yeah, it was this sample right here. What did I sample this from? It was originally a Neonix bass shot. That was the bass shot. Kind of pitched it up, stretched it out. I think I added some saturation to it as well. And then this section where all of the washing melodics kind of come back in, that's over here. So you'll see all of these layers. Turned off the drop because that's where the sub bass is. But the melodics, you have the hyperpop lead. You have the lead in a box. And then I have this one I call the hardstyle lead. I don't know if it's actually hardstyle. Fight me if it's not. I could hear that in like a hard techno song or something. Other than that, there's a couple more leads, bells, and things like that. Kind of like more cutesy layers. Cutesy layers. You can hear them, but they're not the main focus. The main focus is like all the chords and stuff. Down here, here's the chords. They're playing on this, and I'm playing them also. God damn, where are my chords, bruh? Am I geeked up? Where are the chords? I'm glad I'm still recording. Where are the fucking chords? Alright. And then up here in blue, I have my chords. If that sounds really rich for one instrument, that's just because it's two. I have 2 different serum patches, basically just running different super saw setups. If you've made a super saw, just take one, find any other super saw thing, and then do something like this, like stack them up inside an Ableton rack. Pitch one left, pitch one right, make them a little bit different sonically, but then you can make them like hyper stack, because you got even more stuff going on. Like 2 really is better than 1 for something like this. 1 on its own sounds like this. Like it's correct, but you can hear like pockets where it's not full enough yet. And then this one is like a choir type thing. I would not rinse that by itself. But you put those 2 together, that choir thing, and then that like half full synth. Like that shit is cinema. But yeah, I have those chords. I think I echoed them down onto at least one other sound. Yeah, this one has it too. So I echoed those same chords to a few different sounds. And then the melody kind of just in the middle of the drop. And then that high gliding portamento note, I'll listen to that shit all day, bro. And now we come up to the real like switch up. So it's gonna be that melodic part again. You're gonna see the same like chords and stuff, but it's longer. I added an extra 2 bars, like kind of adding more tension. And you'll hear it right here. So the melodies work pretty much all the same. Matter of fact, this one didn't even carry through, but it's fine. All the main sounds kind of continue to carry, like the melodies continued. And so that's just a cool arrangement thing. I'm happy that I arranged it this way because I feel like it catches a listener by surprise. It's like, oh, this sounds familiar, but now it's switching up and like building up again. What? So we enter into a similar call and response. I just start adding more like different sustains and different downbeats. So for example, here's one of the downbeats. Kind of using different bass fills and then a little bit of a zap at the end. Everyone knows the dubstep zap, right? I don't gotta explain that one. And then we go back to the sort of crunch party. When we're in the crunch party, this is where we have like all these sustains. One thing I really did that makes it a little bit different though, was I changed out the overdrive for this thing called Glitch Boy. This is my other variation idea. It's a similar thing, like just taking a pad and then using shifter on it, but I went with some kind of wacky automation to really make it go up and down a lot in pitch. So this sound by itself, it's all over the place. It's very like digital, cyber, I guess. It's an interesting layer. It's like very out there and kind of unexpected. But then I put that with my sustains, the very like plain, heavy, da kind of notes. And then it has a real movement to it. Check this. Or check this. So it makes it sound like an alien zapper or something. And that's kind of what I was thinking of with the Glitch Boy. So that's the second half sound that sort of replaces this one. Went with this one instead for a second half to to get you more of that glitchy sound. You'll notice that the melodic part is not as melodic anymore. It was sounding like it's not all cutesy no more. Lately, I've just been trying to showcase, like, I love color bass, I love melodic music, but I really can also be like a dubstep bull. So, you know, I've just been trying to show what I have for the heavier bass, and sections like this and this, you'll hear it. Recall the response. The call. Response. In this section, I kind of made the drums a little bit more free, right here. We're pulling reverse kicks. Yeah, we got like stutter kicks, reverse kicks. That's what I mean by making it more free. Like, I'm just kind of having a good time with the kicks, doing stuff with the drums that is not on every record. You don't have to make everything like boom, clap, boom, clap. Like, put stuff on the off beats, throw stuff in reverse. Start doing that shit. We need it. We need it. That's just a little switch up in the drums. And other than that, call and response wise, like the flow is still the same. We switch out some sounds and try to keep it sonic variation. Because when I first bring in that sound, it's more like a kind of to the beat kind of flow. That's more like to the beat, kind of on beat. And then this one is a little bit more kind of all over the place. It's like a saunter. Donka-donk, donka-donka-donk. It's like a saunter, I guess is what I'd call it. So you can switch up the flow like halfway through a drop to get a different response to your call. Another way to just kind of switch up your tracks a little bit if you're looking for that. You'll hear some random basses kind of in the background here. I'm not afraid to use some crazy ass effects just in the background. And I mix them so that they're not taking up too much attention from the mains. You don't notice it in context. This last variation is pretty much the last one. I do one more thing with like a fill. There's a drum fill here. So that drum fill, with a little bit of delay on it, sounds like this. One more time. And then we do the long bridge again. So I bring in the da da. And then that's kind of raps. I wrap it up there after that. I do one long bridge after the second half. And that's how I structured it. First half, long bridge. Second half, long bridge. And then just outro. Outro is sonically similar to the intros. Just kind of kept more dubstep drums to vibe out to. Same melodies. What comes in right here? And then what's nice is like I had all those pads to work with. I did start taking some out of different sections. I didn't need every single pad, but like towards the end you can hear like kind of only a couple of them, and it sounds a little cinematic, a little like crisp. So yeah, that's kind of how I created the outro, just reusing some of the soundscape of the intro and of the breakdowns. So guys, this is The Protocol. It's out everywhere you want to stream your music. Really appreciate everyone who stopped by to watch. If you learned anything, that's exactly what we came to do. We're all just trying to get better than we were yesterday. If you're feeling better than you did yesterday, crack that like button, smash that subscribe. We're on the way up. I don't have too much more. Check out The Protocol. Stay tuned for what comes next. And yeah, jet out.